Sometimes a new set of data lands on our desks that stops us cold. It forces us to look at how we live and work, not giving us the chance to just ignore these and move on. We have to rethink how the modern world works. Let's take a better look. Let's talk about 2018. That year, the Ragnar Frisch Center for Economic Research put out a study that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. It was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. If you aren't familiar with that journal, just know it's one of the most respected and strict scientific publications on the planet. The researchers looked at the IQ scores from more than 730,000 Norwegian men. They didn't just look at one group, they looked at multiple generations. These gave them a bird's eye view of how the human brain has been performing over decades. What they found was, well, unsettling. For most of the 1900s, people in developed countries were getting smarter. IQ scores rose at a steady, predictable rate. Scientists even gave this trend a name, the Flynn effect. It seemed to prove a simple idea. As we got better food, better schools, and more modern technology, our brains got stronger. Everyone, from government planners to business leaders, assumed this upward climb would never stop. We thought that modern life and getting smarter went hand in hand. We were wrong. The data shows that IQ scores have been dropping since the mid-1970s. This isn't just a small dip in one town, it is a consistent slide across Norway, the United Kingdom, Denmark, and Finland. And if we look at the United States, the picture isn't any better. We are looking at a reversal that has been happening for about 50 years now. This is not a glitch, it's not a temporary phase, it is a structural trend. This decline has continued through oil crisis, the invention of the internet, global wars, and massive social changes. While we were telling ourselves that our jobs were becoming higher level and more sophisticated, our actual brain power was heading in the opposite direction. The most worrying part isn't the average score, though, it's who is losing the most ground. Steepest drop in IQ is happening among high performance. These are the people that companies and countries rely on for big ideas, complex judgment, and strategic planning. The very people we need to solve the world's biggest problems are the ones whose cognitive engines are slowing down the most. Think about that for a second. We are building a more complex world where our ability to handle complexity is shrinking. To understand why this is happening, we have to look under the hood. We need to see the actual mechanics of how the modern digital office is breaking our brains. The research shows that our work environments attack our ability to think at 3 different levels. First, let's look at attention. The research here is very clear. Gloria Mark and her team at the University of California discovered something terrifying about our daily habits. They found that if we are working on a task and get interrupted just once, even by a quick "Hey, do you have a second?" or a Slack notification, well, it takes your brain an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back to the same level of focus you had before. Let me be clear, it's not the length of the interruption that hurts you. The interruption might only last 10 seconds. The problem is what they call attention residue. Think of it like a mental shadow. A part of your brain stays stuck on that interruption long after you have looked away. You might be looking at your spreadsheet, but a slice of your brain is still thinking about that email you just saw or the message you just received. You are effectively working with only a fraction of your brain. Second, we have the problem of multitasking. Many people wear the multitasking badge as it is a badge of honor, but the science says it is a disaster. Researchers Rubenstein, Mayer, and Evans proved that constantly switching between different tasks can cut your productive brain power by up to 40%. Think about the last leadership meeting you attended. How many people were checking their phones or glancing at their laptops? Probably everyone. This doesn't just mean they are distracted, it means the collective brain power in that room never even gets close to its full potential. The meeting is essentially a group of people operating at 60% capacity, trying to solve 100% difficult problems. Here's a recipe for bad decisions. The third finding is perhaps the most uncomfortable. Ward, Duke, Nisi, and Bose published a study in the Journal of the Association for Consumer Research. They found that just having a smartphone on your desk, even if it is turned off and face down, makes you less smart. The phone doesn't have to ring, doesn't have to buzz. Just knowing it is there takes up cognitive space. Your brain has to use energy to ignore the phone, which leaves less energy for the work you are actually trying to do. Proximity alone is a tax on your intelligence. The standard story about why we are getting dumber at work is simple. We are distracted. We are overstimulated. We have more information coming at us than our biology was ever designed to handle. The digital tools we use every day are built on something called variable reinforcement. That's the same trick slot machines use. Every time your phone pings, your brain thinks, oh, this might be something important. This creates a physical response in your nervous system that is almost impossible to ignore. The technology is literally working against our biology by design. I'm not saying that is wrong, the data supports it, but I believe that blaming the technology is too easy. Technology is just a tool. The real problem is much deeper. It's a problem that no one wants to name because it points the finger at the people in charge. The drop in IQ we see in the research isn't just a tech problem, it is a failure of how we run our organizations. The companies that are struggling the most, the leadership teams that are only using 40% of their brain power, didn't get there by accident. They got there because the people in charge of designing the office didn't treat focus as a valuable resource. They treated it like a personal choice or a nice-to-have thing. This is an uncomfortable truth. The digital tools are the weapon, but the institution is the one pulling the trigger. The institution chose open-plan offices. They wanted easy communication, but they bought it by destroying everyone's ability to concentrate. The institution created a culture where you are expected to answer a message in 3 minutes, even if it is not urgent. The institution decided that being always on was a sign of a good worker rather than a sign of a broken system. The institution treated recovery time and rest like a luxury or a sign of laziness rather than the fuel that makes high-level thinking possible. We built a system that taxes our brains every hour of every day, and then we act surprised when our leaders start making slow, shallow decisions. There is another part of this story that people are afraid to talk about. As we mentioned, the people losing the most brain power are the high performers, the strategists at the top level thinkers. While human brain power is being degraded, artificial intelligence is moving in the opposite direction. AI is getting better at exactly the things humans are becoming too tired to do: sorting through data, finding patterns, and making logical connections. This is a substitution paradox. We aren't just using AI to help us, we are using it to replace the brain power that we have lost. Because our leaders can no longer focus long enough to do deep analysis, they are outsourcing that work to algorithms. The companies that win in the next 10 years won't be the ones that just buy the most AI. They will be the ones that fix their office culture so their humans can think clearly again. They will use AI to boost human judgment, not to replace a brain that has been fried by too many Slack notifications. If we want to stop this IQ slide, we have to be concrete. This isn't about mindfulness mindfulness or vibes something is about how we design our businesses and organizations. Cal Newport has written extensively on protect deep work as an infrastructure. He shows that the difference in output between someone who is interrupted and someone who has deep focus isn't small, it's massive. For a business, this means focus time isn't a suggestion, it is a critical infrastructure, like the electricity or the Wi-Fi. If you don't protect it, your strategic thinking will always be shallow and reactive. Rethink the physical office. The decision to put everyone in one big room, the open plan office, was a trade-off. You got ambient communication, overhearing conversations that you paid for with concentrative capacity, the ability to think. If your top people are doing complex work, you need to ask yourself, was the trade-off worth it? For most high-level tasks, the answer is a resounding no. Manage, sleep, and rest. Research by Kilgore shows that when you don't sleep, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles moral reasoning, risk assessment, and long-term planning, starts to shut down. If your company culture makes people work until 11 p.m. and check emails at 6 a.m., you are literally forcing your leaders to make decisions while they are brain damaged from lack of sleep. That is a choice the company is making. Your brain uses about 20% of your body's energy, even though it is only 2% of your weight. David Benton found that when your blood sugar spikes and crashes, which happens when you eat office snacks like donuts, soda, or heavy carbs, your higher order thinking is the first thing to go. Your creativity and problem solving vanish. What you put in the meeting room, food I mean, matters as much as who you put in the meeting room. The fact that IQ scores have been dropping for 50 years isn't just a fun fact for researchers though. It is a warning sign, it is a measure of how many times we have ignored the conditions that make human intelligence possible. It is not the individual's fault. You cannot willpower your way out of a notification-saturated open plan office. The environment is stronger than your willpower. But the office is not a natural disaster. It is a human invention. Someone designed it, someone maintains it, and that means someone can change it. In most cases, the people who can change it are the ones listening to this right now. The market isn't going to wait for you to figure this out. The world is getting more complicated, not less. The gap between a company that operates at 40% brain power and one that operates at 80% isn't just a small difference, it's the difference between a company that survives and one that disappears. Ask yourself, what does your organization actually value? If you say you value strategic thought, but your office design makes focus impossible, then you don't actually value thought. You value looking busy. It's time to build a new architecture for the human mind. Everything else is just noise. Well, that's all for today. If you found this useful, please leave a like and share this episode with your network. Ciao!